In the heart of Willow Creek lived a young girl named Ella. Her life revolved around her beloved dog Wishbone, her two best friends Rosie and Benny, and of course her late mother. Her mother was an incredible gardener who had passed away when Ella was just a baby. All that remained of her was a beautiful garden and a small wooden box with a lock on it. The only key to this box was one that Ella did not have, and so she could never find out what was inside. One day while Ella was watering her mother's flowers, she met an old woman who introduced herself as Agnes. She had come across the garden by accident, having been captivated by its beauty. In return, Ella asked her if she knew anything about the box. And though Agnes had no idea about the key or its whereabouts, she did recognize the type of lock that it had. Locks like these, she explained, could be opened with a special wish. Not knowing what else to do, Ella promised to find the key on her own and let Agnes know if she was successful. But Ella had no idea where to start. All she had to go on was the vague suggestion that the key might be somewhere in the garden. So she began to search, moving every rock and leaf pile, even checking inside the hollow tree stump that stood right in the middle of the flower beds. She was beginning to lose hope when she noticed something strange, a faint glow coming from underneath the garden fence. It looked like the light was coming from inside the pipes that ran along the fence, and so without wasting any more time, Ella used a nearby spade to dig them up. What she found was nothing short of magical. A hidden garden filled with beautiful plants and flowers she had never seen before. There was also a small house made of twigs and leaves and a little girl sitting on a nearby rock. Startled, Ella quickly tried to hide the hole she had dug. But the girl from inside the garden called out to her and asked if she had found the secret entrance. Ella explained that she had but insisted that she would not be able to find her way back unless she knew where the hole was. The girl then told her that she should probably go back the way she came, which was of course exactly what Ella had done. Not knowing what else to say, the girl simply wished Ella good luck in her search for the key and watched as she disappeared. Confused and upset, Ella went back into the main garden. She had just discovered a place that seemed straight out of a fairy tale, yet she had no idea how to get back in. Determined to solve the mystery, she walked around the entire fence until she found the glowing light again. It wasn't easy to spot during the day, but with the sun going down it became much more visible. This time, Ella decided to take a closer look. As she peered into the opening, she saw the girl from earlier sitting on the same rock. This must be the only way in, she thought. But there was one problem. The rocks were too big to move and the soil around them was hard as iron. Just when she was about to give up, Ella noticed a small crack in the rocks. It was almost invisible from the outside, but it stretched all the way through from one side to the other. With a little effort, Ella managed to wedge the end of a trowel in and pry the rocks apart. As the gap grew larger, the girl inside waved excitedly and beckoned for Ella to come closer. But Ella had a hard time keeping her balance as she leaned in. If she fell, the rocks might collapse and bury her alive. So she held on tightly to the branch above her head and slowly lowered herself. Finally, with one last push, she managed to pull herself through and collapse onto the ground in a heap. The girl hurried over to help her and introduced herself as Lily. Before Ella could ask any questions, however, Lily grabbed her hand and led her deeper into the garden. She explained that this was a secret garden of wishes, a place where every flower bloomed all year round and where dreams could come true. But this magical place was in danger because Lily's brother had stolen the key to the wishing box and hidden it somewhere in the outer world. Without it, their magic was fading fast and soon they would have to close the garden off forever. Ella, desperate to save this wonderful place, promised to do whatever she could to help. Hearing this, Lily led her to a nearby clearing where a group of magical creatures were gathered. They looked like miniature pixies, each with their own unique set of wings and antennas. They explained that they were the guardians of the garden and that they needed Ella's help to retrieve the key. But before they could explain further, the ground beneath them began to shake and a huge creature with sharp claws and teeth emerged from the trees. It snarled at them, revealing rows of sharp fangs. Startled, Ella and Lily tried to run, but the beast was quick and graceful and soon blocked their path. Just when things looked their bleakest, one of the pixies stepped forward and offered the beast a deal. He would allow it to drink some of their magic in exchange for helping them deliver the box to Ella. The beast agreed, and after dipping its claws into a vial, handed the box over to Ella. It was much smaller than she had imagined, but as she reached for the handle, the pixie warned her not to open it just yet. They would need to bring her to a special wishing tree before she could make her wish. So without another word, they raced through the forest, the pixie guiding the way and the beast bringing up the rear. Finally, when they reached the edge of the woods, They stopped in front of a large oak tree with gnarled branches. This was the wishing tree. And as soon as Ella placed the box at its roots, the pixies began to chant. Their voices echoed through the forest as they poured their magic into the tree. Then, as if by magic, a tiny door appeared in the trunk and swung open. Taking a deep breath, Ella stepped through and found herself in a dark tunnel. She couldn't see anything in front of her, but the pixies handed her a lantern and told her to keep going. Deeper and deeper she went until finally the tunnel opened up into a vast chamber. In the center was a single pedestal holding a golden mirror. It was intricately carved and adorned with jewels that sparkled in the dim light. The pixies explained that this was the Well of Wishes, a place where dreams came true and destinies were decided. All they wanted, Ella, was for her to look inside and make a wish. But when Ella turned to face the mirror, she gasped. Staring back at her was not her own reflection, but the image of a beautiful woman with long flowing hair and kind eyes. She explained that she was the guardian of the well and that her duty was to grant wishes to those who entered the chamber. But she also warned Ella that making a wish here was a serious matter. Once the wish was granted, there was no turning back. With this in mind, Ella thought carefully about what she wanted. She could wish for anything in the world, anything at all. Yet despite all the wonders she had seen, she had already found something far more precious: the courage to help others. When she finally looked back at the Guardian, her eyes were shining with determination. She told the Guardian that she did not want any treasure or power. Instead, she wanted to help everyone in the Garden of Wishes, the pixies, the animals, and especially Lily. Touched by her selfless wish, the Guardian smiled and waved her magic wand. Suddenly, the room began to glow and everything around them started to fade away. When the light subsided, Ella found herself back in the garden with Lily and the others. It looked different somehow, brighter and more vibrant than before. And as she looked around, she saw that all the flowers were blooming and the trees were laden with fruit. The pixies cheered and thanked her for her kindness. Then, as if they had never been there at all, they flew away into the distance. Ella turned to Lily, who was beaming from ear to ear. Now that her brother no longer had the key, the garden would be safe once more, and together they could make sure that it stayed that way forever. The two girls embraced, their laughter echoing through the garden. It had been a long and dangerous journey, but in the end, everything had worked out for the best. As the sun set, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Ella knew that she would never forget her adventure in the secret Garden of Wishes. The friends said their goodbyes and Ella carried the box home, knowing that she had made her mother proud.